indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome you all here tonight. As is customary, we start off all of our meetings with a 30-minute question period from the audience. If anybody would like to address the board. We do have a 30-minute time limit on this. If need be, we will go longer if we have to. We're going to ask each person to limit their remarks to 3 to 5 minutes, and each person will be allowed to speak once, so everybody gets a chance to speak, and if time permits, if somebody wants to say something else, we'll do it at that time. Later on the agenda is a discussion item about the facilities and what we're going to do. And that discussion will be limited to the members of the board and any questions they may have from the facilities committee. That will not be an open forum for questions and answers back and forth. When the board does come up with a final decision as to which way they're going to go or what they're going to present to the people, there will be a series of open meetings for discussion before a public referendum does take place. Okay, so if anybody would like to address the board on any issue? Yes, Amy?
Hi, my name is Amy Garrett, and I live in the village of Champlain. And I have submitted to Mr. Heber a request for transportation to Seton Academy. In my search on the internet, I discovered a law that has been overlooked, that you are required to provide the transportation for students to go to Seton as long as you are providing the transportation for public school students. The law states from the school law 28th edition that door-to-door transportation is not required, and we are more than willing to come to a central location for you to pick up the students. Section 2289, page 703 to 04, are school districts required to provide transportation to non-public school students? Yes. The education law requires that school districts must provide transportation to non-public school students within the same mileage limits established for resident students attending public schools. If a district transports public school students beyond what is legally required, it must do the same for non-public school students. You have a copy of a map quest showing that transportation from Northeastern High School to Seton Academy is actually a little under the mileage of which you provide CV Tech. You also go to Stafford, Dukin, Baylia, and Oak Street on a daily basis. In the morning alone at 7:15, we pass 2 empty Northeastern buses. There's just a handful of kids on these buses. I am not looking for any additional expense to the taxpayers. I am one of the taxpayers, and I certainly don't want to spend any more money. But these buses are empty. We are paying a bus driver. We are paying for the gas that is going down there. We are just asking to have these students dropped off as is required by law. So I am asking that you're able to, if possible, add it to the agenda for today. I did not specify that in my letter. I made that mistake. I said that we would be coming here today. So that we can take a look at this and make a decision on it as soon as possible. We've already been transporting 5 years, and if this is something that was required to have been done in the past, we would like a very quick decision, if possible, on this matter. Let's see what else. And that's it. I guess we're, happy to meet at a central location that you decide upon for the students, and do whatever that is not going out of the way for anyone else, and no additional burden on the taxpayers. So I appreciate it.
Since we just received your letter tonight.
Yeah, I submitted it last week.
And I think Ed Law Section 22-112 states that you have to request it by April 1st for the following school year. Unless you just move into the district, then you have 30 days, within the first 30 days that you move.
Okay, we have requested this over and over, and I just stumbled upon this law.
So we're going to do some research on this, Amy, to see, and we're not sure what the BOCES is considered part of the regular transportation that we do. Those students that go to Plattsburgh now go to BOCES, and I'm not sure that's considered in that mileage, or it's only mileage within the regular district to attend the regular school. So we're going to get together, we'll do some research, we'll talk to our attorney over the matter, and we'll see what it is, or if that April 1st request date is, how that plays into it too for the following year.
know a time frame of looking at this?
Yeah, we'll request Mr. Hebert to look into this, and it'll probably be done over the next week or so.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Dave, you
Thank you. My name is Steve Southwick. My wife Cheryl, daughter Caitlin, and I reside at 98 Elm Street in Champlain. I'm a member of Champlain's Village Board. Champlain Elementary School, as you know, was closed 3 years ago. It turns out that that closing was a mistake with regard to the current space issues confronting this board. It is still a matter of ongoing debate whether there was any actual tax savings realized by closing Champlain Elementary School. We are still spending $30,000 per year to keep it closed. There are 130 children that could attend Champlain Elementary School today. With the help of many volunteers, a petition was circulated to request that the school board investigate the renovation and operational costs of reopening Champlain Elementary School with one class per grade level before making a facilities decision. And you all should have copies of that petition. Over 500 taxpayers in all of the townships served by this school system signed this petition in less than 1 week. This kind of response demonstrates that many taxpayers support the concept of a community school. Finally, I would like to suggest to the board that you are more than a school board. Your mission is more of a board of directors that is responsible for a $24 million corporation. A board of directors' duty is to represent the shareholders' best interests. We are all more than shareholders, yourself included, as taxpayers. We are stakeholders. We have too much at stake to not consider all of the options. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jeff Moore from the Village of Champlain. First and foremost, I'd like to commend the Save Our Schools group for the efforts that they have put in to preserve our elementary schools and for presenting a viable alternative to new construction. I notice every night as I walk by the school in Champlain, I see what a mistake it was for us to have closed that. It was a focal point of activity in our community. I think every village, every hamlet should have their own school like this. I see the parents used to gather there for school plays, for sports, picking up the children. It became a part of the fabric of our community, and to be honest with you, we miss that. We think it's also a viable option, cost-wise, to keep that school open. I know we were probably remiss in not speaking up louder when it happened before, when we did actually close the school, but I didn't think that the community would miss it as much as it does. People were passing around this petition, and they could have gotten a lot more names if they had more time. There was only 2 people that weren't very enthusiastic about that option of keeping the school, the Champlain School opening it back up. And I don't believe it would cost that much to open it back up. I know there was talk of new construction and $33 million, but I don't fault the committee that the only options they were given was new construction and new construction. It's not surprising that they came to the conclusion new construction was the answer. I really would like the board to take some time to reconsider the option of reopening the Champlain School and giving the townspeople of Champlain a chance to have their school back. It hasn't left a void in our community, and I really think that the school board should consider that, not just as classroom configurations or whatever. I look back, that's one of the quality things of life here in rural America is having small schools for the elementary students. I think you can't put a price tag on that. I really hope that you will give some consideration to that option. I know it's a last minute thing, but it's very important to the people in our school district. Thank you.
there a motion to accept the treasurer's report and multi-fund for August 06, the middle school boiler project, August 06, unemployment from August 06, taxes for Ferrari from August 06, and the extra classroom activities account from August 06, that was in our board packet?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend approving the Committee on Preschool Special Education recommendations from their meeting of September 21st?
So moved. Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to meet with Ms. Hunt regarding the preschool recommendations, and they are in line and appropriate.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend approving the Committee on Special Education recommendations from their meetings held on August 29th and 30th, September 8, 11, 15, 20, 25, 26, 28, 29, and October 2nd?
So moved. Second.
Discussion?
Yes, I met with Ms. Hunt regarding 58 meetings and recommendations. The fiscal impact of the recommendations are approximately $279,000. This is due in very large part to transfers into the district. All but $5,000 of that $279,000 is a result of students with disabilities moving into the district in the next month, I suspect. So that's the recommendation, 58 meetings, an increase of $279,000. And I recommend we approve the recommendations.
Any questions or further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend the appointment of Ashley Akey as a 40% special education teacher at St. Mary's Academy, effective October 16th, and should be placed on step 1, column 2 of the 06-07 salary schedule, prorated to 40% and prorated for the remainder of the year?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I had the opportunity to sit on that committee. Ms. Akey, I think, is going to be a very good asset to our family education program.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend accept the independent audit for the period July 1st, 05 through June 30th, 06 from Kelly and Conroy CPAs?
So second.
Any discussion?
I guess even before we get into that, I know that the committee wants to, under information, we had a report from the audit committee. I think in lieu of that, that's where it's going to be. So since we have it here, I think we can actually talk about the meeting this morning with the audit committee.
We met this morning for must have been close to 2 hours, reviewed the high points of the audit. Overall, and at the meeting with Bill and Bob, Orville, Randy, and stuff. And reviewed the audit. The audit was, the overall recommendation was very positive. We are in good fiscal shape. There was nothing of any great concern. There will be a management letter, which is a summary that the board, actually, I think you got tonight. We need a recommendation from the board, a resolution from the board, so we can submit this required audit to SED. And the audit itself will be reviewed with the board at our pleasure by our accountants. They were particularly complimentary about the work that was done. They thanked Henry Favell for the help in completing the audit. And, certainly there are things we probably will address to improve upon. But overall, my sense was that it was a positive audit. And overall, I think we're in quite good shape in terms of our fiscal operation. Is that,
Very good.
So I recommend that we accept it, is that what we're doing?
Accept it.
And that will allow the district to submit it to SED.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. So a motion to recommend approval of the request submitted by Harry McManus, UN advisor to travel to New York, and will meet with France and Panama representatives at the UN. The district will provide a bus and driver for the trip. Students will pay for the cost of the trip. And Mrs. Jones and Mr. McManus will be the advisors. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend approval of the request submitted by Harry McManus, UN advisor, for participation in the 35th Annual Harvard Model UN Program in Boston from December 6th to the 10th? Between 18 and 20 students with 3 advisors and chaperones will participate. Grant money will pay for the rooms at the Boston Park Plaza.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I just, I presume this is consistent with the transition plan?
Yes, it is.
Carried out, and people will be participating.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend accepting the letter of resignation received from Deborah Perot, part-time school bus monitor, effective September 22nd, and request authorization to post?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
This is still going to be a 3 hours a day?
3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, 3.5. But basically, what she is looking at, she has accepted another position, but she will be under sublist until we were to post. It's a bus monitor position.
It's a total of 3 hours a day, right?
3.5 hours, 3.5 hours a day.
So we'll be posted for the same thing?
Yes.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend accepting the letter of resignation received from James Tierney, bowling coach, effective immediately?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend appointing Jeremy Winters as bowling coach for the 06-07 school year?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to create and post an English as a second language teacher for 3 periods a day?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, we had a new student moving to our district who is going to need some help in, he's an ESL, English as a second language, and we need to provide a certified teacher for the student. He will be taking a proficiency based upon his results of the proficiency. If he falls at the beginner level, it will be as much as 3 periods a day. So we're going to administer the assessment, and then we'll know exactly how much time we have to provide. But we will have to provide some time, so we need to post the position.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend awarding the bid for snow removal to Ross's Point Elementary School to Matthew McDonald, who was the low bidder?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend awarding the bid for snow removal at the middle and high school in the bus garage to Sharp, including sanding when requested, at the rates in the board pack?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
With the sanding on this, we're still going to run our own equipment as far as sanding goes, we use our own manpower.
All right, we're going to continue like we did last year.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend awarding the bid for snow removal at Moore's Elementary School to include farm equipment, including sanding when requested at the rates listed in the board packet?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend approving the bid for salt and sand in the amount of $1,578 received from Sharp Rental Center? They were the only bidder.
So moved.
second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend approving Bridges Tree Service as the low bidder for tree removal at the Ross's Point Elementary School, including stump removal?
So,
Second?
A discussion?
I can just say that basically we had someone before, but we had, didn't meet all the qualifications, so we had to go back out.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend approval of the correction of tax received from the Real Property Tax Service Agency for Roger and Yvonne LaValle in the town of Moores? Original amount was $1,076.06. The corrected amount is $427.06.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend approval of the correction of tax received from the Real Property Tax Service Agency for the town of Moores? The original amount to be collected was $121.89, and the corrected amount is $0. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend approval of the correction of tax received from the Real Property Tax Service Agency for Janine Bayshard in the town of Moores? The original amount to be collected was $3,080.35. The corrected amount is $1,706.51.
So moved.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend approval of the correction of tax received from the Real Property Tax Service for Matthew Baker, the town of Moores? The original amount collected was $1,852.65. The corrected amount should be $1,182.52.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend adding the following people to the 0607 substitute list? Certified Amy Guina, Geneva Barnaby, Patrick Lucy. Non-certified Rachel Jenkins, Kathleen Woodward, Kevin Clancy, Maureen Roush. Typist Maureen Roush, teacher aide Maureen Roush, school bus driver Robert Barron. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend approval for Lee Sample, Kenneth Peak, Brian Guerin, and Neil LeCount to be added to the substitute school bus list upon completion of training and necessary testing?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend payment to WPS Consulting Engineers in the amount of $10,400 for professional services rendered for Ross's Point Elementary School's remediation of water and mildew?
So moved.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to recommend payment to Servpro in the amount of $8,500 for removal of mold and mildew at Ross's Point Elementary?
So moved.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. We have some information items. One through, the first internship, Heidi Sample. Anything to add to that thought?
Yes, at the last meeting, you requested to just have an update or an idea as to how this internship would benefit the district. And Heidi and I have had several conversations. And basically, in addition to meeting all of her requirements for the internship, she will help us to evaluate the new reading program, the 100 Books program. And she has also agreed to look at updating the interview questions for teachers and teaching assistants, which is another task that we wanted to perform at the district level. And then the third will be to align the registration packets for both elementary schools. I think that hasn't been revisited in a while. So I think in addition to doing everything else that she is going to do for the internship, this will definitely be a benefit for the school.
Okay, Nancy, do you have an update on the band trip?
Yes, I had originally met with the parents, and I felt that there were too many students in such, I really didn't have enough time to look up the Christmas trip properly this time around, and I felt there were too many students not going, and there were many parents and students interested in doing a trip of some sort. So right now, I'm in the process of arranging a trip to a closer city, no further than Philadelphia, so that it doesn't entail the expense of having several drivers on the bus that we would be using. So I'm in the process of getting cost information for various cities at the moment.
So the Disney trip is off, you're saying then?
Yes, for this year it was. It was too expensive for the time frame that we had to work in, so. I've learned a lot now, right?
Well, thank you for your efforts. I know it's not an easy task, but yeah, there any kind of trip like that or involved, particularly going that distance too. Next is the University of the State of New York Conference, which will be held in Peru. It's going to be next week on October 20th. I think some people from, or at least in our attendance.
We have a team of 7 that will be going, and the purpose, in addition to having our guest speaker, Commissioner Mills will be there, Tom Rogers will be there, Regan Dawson will be there, several others as well as Mr. King. But the focus will be to talk about 2 questions, and one is what preparation needs to be completed prior to entering high school to ensure that students will graduate. And then the second question will be what key things should happen or change in high school to ensure all students, including struggling students, stay in school and become successful and graduate. So those are going to be the key focuses of this particular conference.
I assume that the board meeting will have a report on the meeting. It sounds like the 2 important questions or topics that are going to be discussed at the meeting. We'll be interested to see what the outcome will be for up in the North Country. The Association of Educational Secretaries are preparing for negotiations in the near future, and I'll let them get this out when they're ready.
Right, well, they already have, but I guess what I need to know is what board members want to serve on that negotiation.
We already have a board member, I'm one.
For the secretary?
Is that the liaison committee, you think?
No, it's not liaison, this is for negotiation.
That's correct. We picked the members.
If,
I think it's over.
just oral?
No, no.
Okay. And I will be contacting you so we can set up a meeting, if they're ready to.
Okay, and Nicole Rabideau will be taking a leave maternity from approximately March 26th through May 9th. Using accumulated sick days and the remainder without pay. Likewise, Vicki Babby will also be taking a leave of maternity from approximately March 13th through June 12th, using her accumulated sick days. There were 3 warrants that were in our board package. Anybody have any questions about them, they can contact the superintendent. Also in our board package, we're listing the building safety committee shared decision-making teams that were listed for each of the 4 different buildings. Information item.
And we have put all the acting district shared decision-making teams and correspondence to each of the associations and the way we them to the NCCS.
Reorganization due to a student leaving the district. Maureen Rouse, the least senior student aide, was released, and Doretta Lucci will move into her position as a 50% student aide and 40% testing aide. And Lisa Carden will move into Doretta Lucci's full-time position. So tonight we were given the testing scores that we came about, the CLA testing scores in our packet for tonight. There'll be a discussion of those at the next board meeting by the individual.
Well, we'll review this,
We'll review everything at the next meeting. So I ask you to please look at those, and if you have any questions, to come up with any questions, or submit them ahead of time, so we can get answers. have some discussion items on the agenda. First one,
Can I ask just one question, just for, on number 6, if you take sick time from maternity leave, that's fine, but if you don't have enough time and you just take the rest of the time, that does not, from that point on, does not count for seniority for that person, is that correct or not?
yes, it is, that's correct. It's not. Any time without leave is not paid. First item is the senior mom.
I was asked to place this on the agenda for discussion because this year we do not have a separate room per se where seniors can go in and be by themselves or whatever. We've always had the highest trust in our seniors, but due to, space limitations, et cetera, we have tried to provide, I guess, some privileges for these seniors which others haven't had in the past. I think if you remember one of the board meetings, we also agreed that the seniors, if they didn't have a first period class, could come later. And we also said that if they didn't have a last period class, they could leave earlier. We have tried to restructure the lobby in such a way that we do have supervision, and the seniors can kind of go either into that large cafeteria. When the cafeteria, there's 2 periods we don't have lunch. In that area, there's also tables outside where the seniors can also congregate and talk. And we also do provide a little freedom. I've been down here several times with a ping pong table up, this is playing ping pong. I think they do have a lot of freedom. I think that I was approached by 2 seniors with a list of what they would like, regulations, et cetera. They would like to have a room per se. But I do have to say with the changing time and climate, there are a lot of reservations as far as I'm concerned. We attended safety meetings and, we know that what's going on. We're very fortunate that we don't have violent issues in our school, but at the same time, everyone is saying we should not have a room per se when there is no adult supervision. So we're trying to do everything we can within those parameters, and I guess if that's not enough, then I need the board to direct me to go in another way.
So with the senior mom,
Well, that also involved
wasn't there some damage last year in senior mom too?
But there was their own, they had purchased their own couch and their own furniture, so yes, toward the end of the year, it was, they had to throw away. I think that they do have a lot of privilege now, and I think they're starting to respond to that privilege. And I think that, I haven't really heard, it was a couple weeks ago that they came to me. I know that they have purchased some new furniture, and we're gonna try to, actually it's that around that furniture, which is good, because there's no, fall or anything that they can rip. But we're going to try to create a space within the cafeteria itself. So we have a lot of desks now. We're going to move those to the front and create a space which will be like a lounge area with that new furniture. I think that we're trying to do everything we possibly can. And if for some reason they still feel that that's not adequate, the board doesn't feel it's adequate, I guess we can look at other alternatives. But right now, they do have more than what the previous classes have. And what they do have is different than what the other classes have.
Will it be like a senior corner in that cafeteria?
Yeah.
Will it be an open space?
Yeah, it's an open space for supervision. When I say it's not going to be somebody standing watching, but the cafeteria is open and visible for everyone.
Anybody have any questions, comments? Next, we did the enrollment study. It was done in August of 06 of this year. And do you want to start with that?
Yes, we had this enrollment study, it was presented at the last board meeting, which we have a chance to take a look at it. I read through it several times, and I do understand the premises we used as far as birth rate, and also looked at the end result, and I think we have to look at the summary of the conclusions. And just to summarize, it's the fact that the enrollment is projected to decline by about 11.2% from 1,614 students to approximately 1,433 in 2011, 2012. And it does give the specific breakdowns, but also if you look at the year 09, 010, what I kind of took a look at to see where it would be, because should we, when the board discusses the possibilities of any of the options, that is, I guess, a targeted date when we would be looking at, in place, having that option in place. So, I think that it was a very well done projection. As a matter of fact, Dr. Martin called again this morning, wanted to know what our October numbers were, and he was going to update the local projection for us so that we would have the updated version too. So.
Do you have a number?
I don't have it.
Looks like between 06, 07, and 09, 010, it's like about 100 students left. And I realize that's because of that one big class. Current ninth grade. Anybody have any questions or comments about the budget? Okay. Next is the recommendations that were given at the last meeting from the facilities committee. I think we had 5 options that were presented to us this last meeting, and the committee did make a recommendation at the last meeting. We had asked them to come up with a recommendation, and they did come up with one, and their recommendation, I think, was for option number 1. And now it's up to the board, of course, has the final say what option we go with, or what plan we want to go with in the end. So, again, I want to thank the committee for their time, the hours that they put in, the energy that they put in, and trying to look at everything they looked at, including what the educational aspects were, as well as the financial aspects, as well as the building and facility aspects. We appreciate the job that they did, and I'm sure it will help us in making our decision down the road. We have to come and make a decision, whether it be tonight or whether it be within the next month or so. Anybody have any comments or want to start out?
Well, not hearing anything from my colleagues, I'll start. I guess I would suggest I do not make a decision tonight, perhaps narrow those options down. And look a little deeper, and one of the things that the committee did not do or didn't do, and not for, when I was on it and then I was off it, we just did not seem to have the time, but looking at educational programming is not something that I think we really explored, and particularly in connection with consolidation. I certainly think the committee did a fine job in a number of aspects, but I think we landed strictly on a fiscal perspective, which may be fine, but I would like to explore further an educational programming component of, particularly of the option of building, connecting to the facility here. For lack of a better term, consolidation, I can't remember what number that was in terms of the options that we're doing. While we're doing that, I would suggest that we also take another deeper look at those costs that were associated with option 3A.
I think we can recommend.
Yeah, connected, however, to the most outstanding. 3B, I'm sorry, 3B. The other concern I have that the committee made a recommendation was to do away with the flex zone. I think that's potentially very problematic for future budgets in the district, in terms of tying our hands in terms of cost-saving measures we may have to take. Who knows what the future, what lies ahead, fiscal and state. I'll stop there.
I have concerns with just how we would work the flex zone. So I would like to just flesh out more with option one, just how we would blend in the flex zone. You could get yourself narrowed into an area where you'd be spending a lot of money for one or two children. But I also would like to take a look at, along with what Steve is saying, educational benefits, and also I think we should maybe narrow down a couple possibilities, and then there are always areas where you can pull out, and you may be able to maximize your aid ratio. If you've got a very low aid ratio, that would be the area where you would not concentrate at all. And I have a proposal, fine-tune proposals come back to us. In doing that, I don't know whether it would be the add-on here or in yours, but I like to have, personally, I like to have both of them fleshed out as to how tight we can fine-tune it. Because we're going to make a decision now for years in the future. And I just like to make sure I'm making the correct decision.
I just want to add that I did get your request. I did take a look at what would be a flex zone. And I have 4 or 5 options here as to where the district, if option 1 were the choice, and I was requested to take a look at that. And what we tried to do when we came up with these options, and again, these are just suggestions because I did get, a request to do that, is that trying to keep the same numbers together that we currently have. If we were to go with that, I guess one of the lines of demarcation would be going down the service road, which I believe would go right on down around, cut through Champlain and onto Route 9 is one. That would leave about 369 students in yours, 255 in Rouse's Point. We would have, currently what we have right now is we have almost like an overlap where we're actually picking students up in Rouse's Point and taking them to Moores as well as vice versa. Another one was looked at, which would be, this one would go right down Church Street, and it would break off and go up near, again, back near Route 9. So it would kind of divide the district, and then you would have everybody, one end goes Rouse's Point, and the other goes Moores. I'll have these, and I'm more than happy, because we got these today, we looked at them, and then if you did the other option, trying to keep the numbers basically the same, the Border View Drive and go down Oak Street, that would also take the district, so that you would then have a line of demarcation where you would have approximately 226 going to Rouse's Point, 398. Of course, that's what our current numbers, and we know that. So there are different, the Transportation Department did try to take a look at that, try to stay so that if we were to go with option 1, which was presented, again, as I say, not stressing one option over the other, the fact that, that would be one of the things that we would need to do, I think was presented, was to look at where would the line be. And there are ways of drawing that line so that if somebody were to move into the district, they would know exactly what school they were going to. So, for what it's worth, I have the information here, which I'm more than happy to provide.
So what you're saying is it's a line, not a flex zone.
Correct. I think that's what the request was for me to find out. If we were going to do that, if we were to go to option 1, I think that was one of the recommendations of the committee, was to try to come up with a line so that Champlain, or if would not feel like they were a flux. And I think that was one of the things that we did as a transition in order to try to get over the, the closing of the school.
you know, speaking to a lot of people in the community, and, you know, going down this road that we're venturing on here, it affects a lot of people in many, many ways. You know, depending on where you are in the community, they bring their ideas and suggestions to us. For one, myself, the programming, like Steve and I spoke about, flex zone, transportation costs. The other thing would be the recommendation that the facilities committee gave us. Recommendation 1 would be one of my recommendations that we could look into, and also option 3B with the adjoining building and consolidating. I again would like to look into further on those two ideas and see if we can, you know, get some more concrete savings on what it would be, especially for item 3B, for option 3B, I'm sorry, for the consolidation. I mean, how would it affect us as far as programming? That would be one of my concerns. So those would be my two options that I would go with based on the I spoke with the community.
Well, we certainly have a lot of things to consider, and a lot of people, stakeholders. I did have a chance to listen to Mr. Rogers talk a few nights ago, and one of the main concerns of education that people aren't talking about right now is, number one, poverty, and the fact that the projections are that by 2020, our country is not going to have the proper educational system where students are educated to be able to fill 14 million jobs, which is a very scary statistic. The other statistic out there is that right now, we have 30% of our students not graduating. And at this point in time, there are 30% of the jobs out there that are able to handle unskilled labor. But they feel by 2020, there'll only be 10% of the jobs. And if we continue not educating our students, if we continue this trend, there will be a crisis in this country that we need to be looking to avert. And that has to be a program. And that has to do with the way we train our students. And technology is going to be a big part of that. And right now, we are not meeting, I don't believe this school is meeting the technological needs of our community or our students. We need to be preparing them for the jobs that are going to be out there 10 years from now, not the ones that are not going to be there, like our manufacturing jobs. So there's a lot of things that we need to look at program. I agree with my colleagues here. We have to look at this and all of that. The other thing we have to look at is the state is starting to talk in terms of making sure that the pre-K is available to 3- and 4-year-olds. If that is something that the state is going to be talking about, is going to be demanding, and that's going to also put a strain on our facilities. We don't have the facilities for that right now. So we need to keep looking at the options. I'm very interested in hearing what the commissioner has to say on October 10th, because there's a lot of things developing right now that could very well have an impact on what we do.
Which option are you?
I would like to look deeper into option 3B as Randy and I think Steve mentioned. Certainly option 1 that our facilities committee had come up with, but there was also an option of building onto Moore's, the Moore's Elementary School, that I think should also be fleshed out. We need to be looking at how long all of our students are on the bus, not just, we need to look at those lines, and we haven't really done that.
We currently have students on buses over now.
That's option 2, I think, right?
Is it option 2?
Which is closing Rouse's Point, adding on to board.
I think we need to flesh out on 3.
Well, I like to say that we keep an open mind, but until someone can show me the benefits that go with something differently, and after witnessing so much time, and I thought very democratic process by the committee, I think I would lean towards the committee's recommendation until something else is proven differently. That's just my way of going. So I guess I'm saying I'll go with the committee's recommendation unless something comes up that proves a better education system or something different would change my mind.
Okay. I guess my opinion is then that, I think maybe from an educational standpoint, probably the best thing for the students involved would be to have one building without anything. That way it makes team teaching much easier. It makes some teachers not a favorite of social studies or science. I think it's good to just do their team teaching that way, or one can teach social studies, similar to what we do with the 6th grade, where one teacher will teach some science, 2 or 3 science classes, one will teach 2 or 3 social studies classes. But when I saw the cost that the committee came up with, I just think that concept is kind of cost prohibitive based on the numbers that we have to work with. Those are looking at 16 and 17 million dollars. It's what the district taxpayers share would be. So I think I have to go back to the committee recommendation as number 1, because that still enables us to have 2 deep in Rouse's Point and 3 deep in 4, so there is some possibility still for team teaching or some possibility for collaboration. The problem I have with option 4, which was to reopen Champlain and to renovate Rouse's Point, is we end up with Rouse's Point and Champlain being basically 1 deep, with maybe a half a class in the other for the deep. And I think when you're only 1 deep, it doesn't give you much opportunity for the teachers to interact with their colleagues at the same level. There's no opportunity for team teaching. They bring classes together to take a group in for reading at maybe a little bit higher level, or that may need more help. And I think we have to be fiscally responsible to the taxpayers. We just can't, when one price is approximately $5 million, and the other one is 16 to 17 million, I just have a hard time, in my mind, going to them that's 3 times as expensive in order to accomplish. And I don't know if we're going to get 3 times the benefit by going with that option. So I would have to go with, option number 1 at this point, based on that information. I think we just can't out-tax people, particularly some of the older people. We are a semi-retirement type area where a lot of people are here, and they just can't afford to keep going up and up with the taxes like that. I think as we went through, and I do have a letter from Sylva Lawrence here, that she's unable to be here, she's on vacation this week. And her opinion was she would agree with the proposal to renovate and add on towards Rouse's Point, which is option number 1, as it enables each school to have at least 2 sections of each class. Gives the children a chance to meet, work, and play with more diversified group of students. And a school with only 1 section of each grade cannot do that. This proposal is also within our debt limit to be fiscally responsible. So I can kind of summarize that and keeping a little tally here. We kind of have like 6 votes for number 1, 1 vote for number 2, and 4 votes for option 3B. So based on that, I think maybe we have to look at option 1 and option 3B a little bit deeper, because those are the 2 that were in the majority of what the board members wanted to look at. So I think we want to like that, come up with some more information, or do a little bit more in-depth study on those 2 options, and try and fine-tune the numbers. And hopefully then we can make some kind of a decision maybe at the October meeting, or at least have a report back to the October meeting. The October meeting if possible. If you have any questions, you don't have to make a decision yet, at least have an update. Sorry, November meeting, this is October. That goes by so quickly when you're having fun. I wonder why you thought it was nuts. Okay. So at the November meeting, we can back and we'll still give this time to make a decision if we have to, either in November at that meeting or in the December meeting, because we have to have a decision by that time. So what does the board concur with that? That's kind of what I was keeping tally here, to look at those two. And limit it to those two options, because those are the ones that.
What does it give you, Andy, as a workup numbers, get back to us, maybe by the end of the month?
I guess I can comment on that because Randy has, Randy's done a lot of work. Compton School has done a lot of work up to this point, and it has been, cost. But depending if the board decides to go with either one or two options to look into further, then we would actually start looking at a cost involved, and we would need to have a resolution to authorize Randy to go ahead. And basically, I have a fee schedule that Randy has produced here for us, and I guess if you, and I had talked to Randy whether it be one or two, I mean, he said he'd be more than happy to look at the two, basically, as far as the business. So, which is the lump sum of the pre-referendum design, by the time you got done, would be $23,500. So, I guess because he has to prepare all the schematics and everything to go to the state ed. So if the board really wants to go with those two options, then I would recommend that we make a motion to accept Randy Collins, I should say Collins and Scoville, with the architects, and authorize them to go ahead with the redesign.
Can I just add just, a couple of things that I think are important that we do before we really start diving right into the design. What we did before was pre-conceptual. So we take a step back and do accurate drawings of existing buildings. That's included as part of the proposal, so that we'll have an accurate place to start. The drawings that we were using prior were fairly good, but we noticed walking through there were some differences because things have been changed over the years. That's number one. The second piece is I have a proposal from an engineering firm to take a look at Moore's septic system so that the capacity and the condition of that system can be analyzed. I think something that can be done there regardless of whether there's an addition from Moore or not. And even with option one, there's a small addition. So, and then the rest of the fee, the majority of that fee, is to bring you to a vote, which we were basing our proposal on the board making a decision toward the end of December and having a vote in February. So that gives us about 3 months from now. And during that 3-month period, I don't know if a month will be enough time for you to analyze both of those options fully. You might need to go a month and a half, maybe 2 months. But by December, you're going to want to have it narrowed down to one.
I think by December, we have to make a decision, yes, in December board, otherwise it won't take place.
Right. So I just want to do a thorough job in looking at these two conditions. I think the facility evaluation piece is done thoroughly, but the design, and especially if you look at option 3B, there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. But same with option 1, a fair amount of work. We only looked at very conceptual look at what an addition might be at the process point. And I had one other question, and you mentioned that you want to look at the educational program. Do you have a feel for how you want to proceed along those lines? Because that needs to drive the design. So when you say program, what exactly does the board mean?
I'm thinking in terms of, I guess, I'm not an educator per se, but physical layout, we've talked about primary or
Yes.
what's the,
Primary and intermediate.
intermediate kind of breakout. But when I speak about educational program, I'm more interested in curriculum alignment, the kind of things, the culture. When you look at high-performing schools,
Yes.
many times it is those kind of intangibles, culture that's within the building, the collaboration. And I know there are other educators, I'm not sure I know what looping is, but those kinds of things that perhaps the 5
You're looking for
more efficient.
a pros and cons list of pros of having a 5 feet versus
Right, right.
having a.
You know, we're gonna be looking at RTI, and whether that operates more efficiently in a 5B versus a 2. I don't know the answers to that. And that also becomes a fiscal question as well, in terms of resource to instruction. Can you do it more efficiently in one setting, or can we do it just as efficiently in multiple settings? I don't know the answers to that. Those are questions. So I don't know that this is all in your bailiwick with the superintendent. You certainly have to help us out.
We need some teacher input in some of
Oh,
these
yeah,
primary.
That's what I guess we're getting at.
Yeah.
There's some process set up.
That part of it, I don't think is in the monetary or fiscally or architecturally. It may have a small part in the architecture, how you arrange the classrooms or set them up, but I think a lot of that is just the pros and cons of going 5D versus 3 to 2.
No, I would also be interested, as Linda, has appropriately suggested, we need to be thinking about 3 years from now, or 5 years from now, 10 years from now, particularly on the technology.
Sure.
Whether there's efficiencies from that perspective. So, but that may be part of it.
Thank you.
Okay, so okay, thank you, everybody. Next, we need to set some liaison committee meetings. Is there a motion to recommend the amount of $23,000 this time, $23,500 for the time for the study? Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. We have to set liaison committee, we might have some meetings that I think all of this, right? Yes. And then people have their schedules with them here tonight, or they can get them.
Okay, we have the different liaison committees. We have the CSEA, and on that we have Mr. Knapp. Yes. Randy. And then for the, you have a date? I'm going to, let me review each one and tell you who's on what committee, and then you can let me know what date, you can talk among yourselves. Administrative and supervisory is someone there, not here, and Steve. The secretaries, is, so Mary's not here normal, then the teachers would be Karen and Linda, and the confidentials are Steve and Randy. So maybe if you two who are on the committee can talk to each other, because it looks like you're going to have some dates, get them back. And let me
They
know.
didn't give you any dates, we'll propose dates for that.
Yes.
Okay. We can get back, I'd say, by next week, or next Monday.
Once I have your dates, then I can propose it to them.
These are meetings that particularly are, I guess, the schools.
The next issue was senior citizen exemption. We did discuss this, we had a letter that came through earlier from the Clinton County Real Property Office. And I think we had some numbers on before.
Yes, we still do, and basically you were asked to bring it back, so you brought it back.
Back in discussion item. Anybody have any thoughts, comments on that?
26, and we said that we had 16.5.
Yeah, let's not that. I guess for the present time, I would recommend staying where we are, so we decide what kind of option we're going to go with, and then what's going to happen at that point. Let's stay where we are for another year, and then look at it and
And then the last one, we received a request, apparently sometimes there's a evacuation or whatever in these sites. And what they're saying is that they've had problems before where some elderly people or individuals, when they're asked to evacuate, if they have an animal, will not evacuate unless they can bring their animal. And some sites can't have animals. And they're asking if we would consider our school to be one of those sites where individuals who had animals, in case of a endemic flu or anything like that, they have to evacuate, whether they could use the school facility.
Aren't we used for humans?
Well, yeah, but you would be a combination.
People that have animals, so they won't need their
They
animals.
won't need their animal.
They're
They would come to their animal.
They're not
Well, it's not enough. That's not enough.
Bob, we're not gonna bring the chickens, though.
I don't know.
My volunteer takes care of it.
What do people think about that idea?
What was this organization? Is this a,
Yes. Yes.
governmental?
Yeah, if you had to have a evacuation, those people will not be back to their residence.
I can feel for them, they can be somewhat problematic. When I was,
It would be difficult, I think.
Well, because we have,
Because we can't use the school during the day, then your animals in the school need food for a year too.
Pardon?
We have some animals in here while the food is here.
Well, I would assume that if, at that time, the kids probably would be here, you know, I mean, it would be a case of
Well,
where.
there's a pandemic type thing like that, they're gonna be here all the time. School's still gonna go on, it's during the year. I just don't know about the idea of animals. How easy is somebody to get bit, and then we're gonna be in a lawsuit.
If it was a pandemic, you wouldn't have anybody.
Yeah,
I know, I just bring it for your discussion.
Well, do we need to make a blanket agreement here?
No.
Or do we say, you know, I'm wondering, if we could use our trash, which is fenced in, whether that would be considered. Yeah.
You can have all those animals inside the, you can have animals going after each other. I don't know if I'm gonna get into that.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I wouldn't wanna get into that.
there's gotta be alternative sites, there's gotta be farms, children in the house.
Is there a motion to go into executive session, to discuss a matter of medical history for an individual, a matter of collective negotiations for Article 14 of civil service law, and a few personnel issues? All those in favor? Opposed? And we do not anticipate any action after executive session. Again, I want to thank you all for coming, those of you that come around and stayed till the end.